In this lesson, I just wanted to go over the Excel workflow guide that I created that accompanies the template. It lives, again, in the ArchiCAD 28 template folder, and it's in this Excel workflow guide folder. I've got it open, so I'll just drag it across. And basically, this is kind of where I just documented naming conventions and kind of what I put in the template. I think it also, you can make a copy for your own personal project. When you work on it, it's a place to kind of store some project information that you can easily access without having to open up the ArchiCAD file and go into the project info. So there's user information, a place to put, who's working on it, company, who the owner is as well. File details, what version, is it on the BIM cloud, is it not, your working units, what you're going to use. This is how the template is set up, so if you want to change anything and just note it for later, feel free to make a copy and change it. Again, here's like the project details where you can kind of list it. I've also put in some links to the various codes that we typically use. Under this jurisdiction area, I've put links to the Newport Beach Municipal Code. Feel free to kind of add whatever municipal code you're working on if you want to have a link to it. There's a link to all the California building codes that you can get to UpCodes, which we have a subscription to. So that should take you there. Same with just building information generally, what kind of occupancy type it is. I've put the climate zones for both Lake Tahoe and Newport Beach, and there's links to maps. Same with seismic design and soil classification. I've linked to some maps so you can see what your seismic zone is and what your soil classification is by your address. So there's some links there. So there's some handy things, and then just project specific information. Like this is set up, again, this is like a typical Newport Beach project about the width and depth of the lot and all that. So this first tab is just project data, a place to store that. The next tab is all about styling and naming, and this is mainly just for reference so that you can see. So I've got a copy of the logo here that's on the title block. It is stored as a GSM, so if you do a Control-Shift-O when you get there, you can open it up and you'll be able to edit it if you want to, but I would just leave it as is. And then this is just a place to decide how you're going to use your notation. I prefer to use a mix of proper and uppercase, so I do not like to capitalize everything, but if you want to, you can definitely put that in there and let you decide what you want to do. Here's just kind of a list and what the specs are for the various fonts and font styles that go into the template. So you can kind of see the size, and this is what they look like. And then also just kind of like general annotation. Decide what the notes are. All kind of set up for 7 and 8 points. Headlines here I go to 8. Usual text I'll try and keep at 7 so it's readable, whether or not it's proper or all caps. And then also the branding pens. I have some branding pens that I briefly went over in another video in the regarding the pen sets. I've listed them all here along with their RGB color numbers, so you can get them if you want to use them somewhere else. That information is stored here. And then just kind of the naming conventions. What designator I use for what discipline. What is general, what's a site plan. Actually, this should be a 0, essentially. What the number is, just kind of examples of subsets, where they might be, what kind of design phase each one might be in. Basically, this is kind of the project map. So these are the preloaded stories. And this, again, is set up for a Newport Beach project. So that's why there's 3 levels with a max height and a min height for flat and sloped roofs. I would use the -1 for crawl space or basements only. So this just kind of documents how I go about labeling things in the template and what the case is, font styles and all that So you can kind of look through here and just kind of get a sense for how things are laid out. I just thought it was a good place to document it. just in case you want it for future reference, or if you want to make changes, a place for you to kind of make your own notes. And the third tab goes over the project and view map organization, what the kind of preferred scale is for the project. Like for instance, on elevations, I'm using shaded with faded distant elements as the type, what kind of cut type it is, sections I call out there, wall sections I do no depth, just as a way to just document it and just have some consistency, just a reference to go back to. Is like, how did I do that? Oh yeah, this is how I set it up. So you can kind of just scroll through this. And then the view map structure, when I use clone folders, that I'll go over in a future video in more detail. When I use clone folders, how I set up the layouts, basically what'll kind of go on it. Is there a legend? Is there a floor plan notes? Are there keynotes? So I just kind of like made a general layout there. And then just kind of deciding what I'm calling my phases. How it's going to look. And so you can kind of just scroll through that and just kind of get that information. So that's kind of just lists how I documented or set up the template for documentation. And then this goes through just kind of annotations and documentation standards. So keynotes will have their own designation. So this is the key that I have for each kind of floor type. That's what I used, what kind of plan it's going to go on to. There are general notes. They're on a worksheet that I can go into detail on a different one for each kind of drawing type, and I'll show you where that is and how to put that on there. And again, just kind of and just kind of listing the legends, what kind of legends I created, what they go on. So again, this is just kind of information that's based, just kind of tells you how the template was built. So this is just a companion guide. And then just kind of model information. And this is mainly what I use to ID things. So it's just kind of written down how exterior walls will start with XW and the like. So you can kind of see that for labeling. This is a list of the composites that were kind of become part of the template. So you'll know what's in there, what each zone is supposed to do, how I'm decided how I'm going to tag doors and windows and the like. Again, you can customize this for your project, and again, ID tags for just different elements. So this is just where I just decided how I'm going to label things. And then I got a little section on wall sections here, and this is just kind of where I kind of work and figure out my what my floor heights are, what the distance to next is, just by kind of laying out, okay, this is where I want my window headers, this is probably where the top ceiling plate's going to be, just kind of assemble all of the things. And mainly I did that to make sure that that gets me underneath these two datums, which again are Newport Beach specific. You have a 24-foot height limit for a flat roof, but I have a 29 height limit for a sloped roof. So just kind of how that all works out. So that's basically the overview of this workflow guide. It's meant to be a companion to the template, just a place for you to kind of figure out and put down your documentation when you start a project, and just kind of give you a reference of kind of how things were set up in the template, so you know how to label things, just so we can all be consistent moving forward. So that's it, and then we'll just start diving into more specifics of the template in future lessons.